In my video about Juzo Itami, I talked about how at the start of COVID, I really dove into a lot of movies and I watched a movie every night. And another one of those movies I watched was this movie called I Don't Want to Sleep Alone by Tsai Ming-liang. And Tsai Ming-liang, I believe is pronounced. And I just want to say that that movie is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And it just stuck with me so much. It touched me, and it's weirdly prescient about COVID era loneliness and loneliness in general. One of the most beautiful movies about loneliness. And what's interesting about Tsai Ming-liang that I hadn't seen from a filmmaker before is his use of silence and his use of timing and his use of space. Because his movies, if you don't like slow movies, these go far, far beyond slow movies. They are very meditative. Every shot is long and every shot is lingered on, and you're allowed to feel the space and you're allowed to feel the quietness. And I need to revisit it because it's not so fresh in my mind. But just the last 20 minutes of I Don't Want to Sleep Alone. It's just some of the most beautiful, devastating filmmaking I've ever seen. It really comes around to such a sucker punch in the gut. And to watch it during the start of COVID when I was trapped alone, it was like, oh my God, this movie's like staring into my soul right now. And it's just about this guy, I believe he gets beat up on the street and then some guy helps him, and a lot of the characters in his films are very impoverished. They live in like ramshackle buildings, and this guy helps him, puts him on a mattress on the floor, and then there's kind of a love story that blossoms and a love triangle between them. But it's all these like just devastating, quiet, little sad moments. Characters walking, characters limping from place to place, crawling, just people sitting quietly in their like sad lives. And if it doesn't sound fun, I don't think it's supposed to be all the time. It's pretty hard to watch, and I think there's a quality to his films that is like meditation. I don't think he expects your mind not to wander. It's like meditation. The goal is to allow your mind to wander, and ultimately you could get to a point where maybe you can clear your thoughts, but. The movie is very much interacting with where your mind goes and what you think about through these canvases and these scenes. And I dove into his stuff after it, and his stuff is very, very interesting to dive into. And I'm trying to remember the ones I watched. I watched Stray Dogs, which is, I believe, one of his last more narrative films. His later trajectory of his career gets very durational, just long shots. He does this series with this walking monk who just walks through cities very slowly, like he'll walk across the whole frame and it will stay. So he kind of quadrupled down on that durational quality to his films. But Stray Dogs is kind of his last goodbye, I think, to this more narrative focused durational work. And without giving away too much, there is a 26-minute long still shot in the movie, and that was like I don't know, that was a boot camp for my patience, just sitting there as the shot just didn't change, and I was just waiting, and I'm like, how long is this? And you're tempted to look at the time and look at your phone and pause and see the time because it's just so long, and it's just so interesting to see a filmmaker play with time in a way that isn't so, I didn't find it boring. And it sounds boring, and I'm sure many people would find it boring, but I found it far more interesting and emotional than anything else. And he has this other movie called The River, where this boy has like this ever increasing like viral infection back problem, and his like family's dealing with it. And it's just so depressing. His movies are just set in the just rain-soaked cities that feel almost dystopian. It feels like not of this world, but also it is of this world. And that movie, just like his back pain, I have bad back pain, and I'm just like, oh man, that's hard to watch. He's like always like twitching, and it's like, oh, the boy in that movie, whoever played the kid, he's not a kid, I think he's like 20 in the movie, but he's just like, his pain is like felt. And the other movie I watched was The Rebels of a Neon God, which was freaking just, it was his first one, so it's kind of a cool mix of this. You see his trademarks trickling in, but not quite. It's a little more narrative. It's a little more classically narrative and classically paced. And it's one of his, I think, one of his first movies. And but it's just really beautiful. And every movie of his I've watched has just like left me with so much to chew on. And I'll take that any day over like a good movie that I forget about. You know, I'd rather like a movie that I'm struggling through, and but like I don't stop thinking about it, you know, and I still remember it. And I watched one more, and I'm blanking. Oh, The Wayward Cloud. He has a few movies in his filmography which are weirdly a pairing of his style and a musical. It'll have musical segments and fantastical stuff like a mermaid and stuff. And it's such a strange pairing. And Wayward Cloud is just like, I mean, from the opening scene, a guy's like fingering a watermelon, and it's like played in this sex scene. It's just so abstract. It was more abstract than his other movies. But still, the fucking ending, it rips your guts out. It's just such a statement on sexuality and being used and wanting to be wanted and wanting to be used, and it just ends, and you're like, oh my God. Like he had a movie open with a guy fingering a watermelon, and I still am like devastated. So he has quite the power in his filmmaking and quite the control over his tone. And I really, really love his films, and I want to explore more. I've only seen, I think, 5, and I got to watch more, and it's been a while, but I've been tempted to watch them again. And I want to revisit I Don't Want to Sleep Alone, because to this day, I hold that as one of my favorite movies, and I just want to revisit it. And yeah, just I think when you watch a film that is challenging and maybe it's not the right time to watch it, like his movies feel like, okay, I've turned this on at the wrong time sometimes, you know, like I wasn't mentally ready for this. But when you watch one of those films and it is the right time and it connects with you, it just feels so different than like another movie that's just telling you a story. It feels like it's interrogating you and you're interrogating it, and maybe it doesn't go anywhere. Maybe it's like an argument an argument or just a quiet discussion that doesn't really have a point, and it just I don't know. But definitely check him out. I started with I Don't Want to Sleep Alone. I think it's a little extreme if you're like not exposed to like slow cinema before, but I think that's a good starting point because I enjoyed it. But Rebels of a Neon God is a little more accessible, and Wayward Cloud would be good for some like awkward laughs, like when you watch something that's just so bizarre, and I think it'd still ease you into his style nicely. So yeah, I just wanted to recommend him. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you guys. I love movies. Have a nice day.